very difficult to get to this point. We see a lot of teams, sometimes get held before there. They make it through. You kind of go through the canals around point B, and then finally at the end of the map, that would be where point C is to complete the map.
Blizzard Arena, it all ends here on Rialto. Only one of these teams can be a Stage 1 champion. Shock start on the attack.
And the Shock 3-0 on Rialto. The Titans 2-1. We casted a game they ended up losing on this map. But, they've had the series pretty much in question when we've gone to Rialto in the past.
That's right. When Vancouver get to Rialto, normally they have the series locked up. Notice the Violet is very low on the low ground there. Slime's looking to do some damage here, but so far, this aggressive defense has looked okay for the Titans. They have lost 2 support players, though. That is going to force them, even if they win this fight, it will force the Titans to play a little bit more passively.
Yes, Moth just trying to dance around the card here.
Oh, he got Twilight. That's huge. One-man army. Moth even gets away with the act. Now the Titans are a little bit, I think they're a bit sweaty after that one. Bumper will have to return to base.
So they'll have to back up. And then also Slime now has to wait as he spawned up a little bit ago, but he has to provide the speed boost here to Twilight to get him back in the action.
Janu, no one knows he's there. He's looking to just try and knock someone off the high ground or dive down on Violet. You see that Bumper tried to join him. They attempted to go for a pincer. Oh, Bumper gets stunned as soon as he goes for the Primal Raid, so he can't do much for the next few seconds. And the Graviton Surge from the Titans has no follow-up damage. Yes, they managed to hold the Shock together in one place, but they don't get rid of any of their players. And now Sominsu is down. This is where the Shock can start to build up a little bit more momentum. But Sinatra's Graviton Surge was negated by Janu. Self-destruct, though, from Janu. Doesn't follow up nearly as nicely. And although Sinatra's ultimate didn't quite work, he is still charged up, and now he is doing work. In a great position to get Janu out of his mech, and the Shock will win this fight. Now they need to get the Titans off the point. Haksal, he wasn't going anywhere as Super brought the hammer down.
And now it's kind of like Ilios, where Bumper potentially has to make a move here to switch off of the Winston and go to Reinhardt, which he does. Fortunate here for the Vancouver Titans, his Super had just used his Earth Shatter, so not going to have any type of advantage in building that ultimate. You leave Choi open here on the cart to start moving the payload. As the Shock want to push up, they know they're so far ahead in terms of Graviton Surge ult charge that Sinatra's going to have a second one here.
It's crazy how quickly you accrued that. But when you are playing most of the fight at 100 charge, oh, this is cute. Sinatra baits the Titans into a corner. Can they get the kills? You bet they can! Super with 3. And the San Francisco Shock just used a very clever position to circumvent the most difficult part of the map for attackers to play around. This corner is treacherous, and the Shock have bypassed it.
And because Vancouver support ultimates, they work on that line of sight. So when the players are around the corner, if you were to use a sound barrier, it doesn't connect with the players on the opposite side. So you may have only connected with like half of your team there. That's why you don't see them use any.
Oh, Matt, the Vancouver Titans, they're mad. But Solmin still doesn't have another Graviton Surge. But the Titans will still push it forward with whatever they have, though. And Chikobian is trying to survive.
Oh, Super again!
From the backside. Big Earth Shatter from Super. Is there follow-up? Oh, that's a hole-in-one! Somitsu is taken down. He still didn't have his Graviton. Now with one player less, the Titans should definitely be starting to stress a little bit more now. Bumper cannot come forward with Violet using the Transcendence here, and Haksal may have overextended himself. Janu is low now. Sinatra is ready to rumble, and he's charged up, and he gets yet another Graviton Surge. How many is this guy going to get? He pushes now into a Graviton from the side of the Titans. The Shock have almost got this checkpoint now. Scant meters remain, and there it is, they got it.
And this is so good for the Shock, as this is such a hard map to finish. We rarely see teams finish it. It's like around 39% they finish the map. The Shock have steamrolled through the first 2 points. About 4 minutes left in the time bank. They're in a very good spot here. You do have ultimates coming online here, though, for the Vancouver Titans. They're going to have Earth Shatter, big Transcendence here for Twilight. They have the ultimate advantage coming into the next one.
The Titans do what they know best, and that's just to push forward. Again, getting some control at least over the payload, so the Shock have to be a little bit more careful as they approach. The Shock do need to walk up through a tunnel, either this one here on the right or the other one. So now they try and take the Titans by surprise. They force themselves through quite a narrow aperture here, and they get caught in the Graviton Surge pretty much straight away now. Is there a charge? Bumper misses the charge. He was trying to find a kill, but then he goes for the shatter.
Oh, big shatter.
See, he's played Knifey Spoony before. Very cheeky. It's almost as if Bumper like fakes a charge. The rest of the Shock just don't respect that he's behind them, and then he shatters.
It was a huge shatter.
That
is
also
like 4 players.
That is how Super led the Shock to victory in a tiebreaker match over the Seoul Dynasty, by the way. to get into the playoffs or to get this seeding. So enthusiasm curbed on the side of the Shock.
As some ultimates did need to be used there for the Titans, the Shock now build up a little bit of an ultimate war chest of their own.
War chest.
Sinatra, you think he'll get close to this Graviton Surge rather quickly with how fast he charges them up.
I mean, again, easy come, easy go. Sometimes for Sinatra, you do see him fire them off rather frivolously on occasion. But right now, the Shock definitely need a good grab. Or a shatter, as that may be. And Super has hit a colossal number of those so far. Easier said than done when Bumper is trying to protect his team.
You see Bumper, though, he just keeps holding the shield up. And Sinatra works it down. But that forces the Vancouver Titans to have to back up. Where Super, we see sometimes he pushes up without the shield up.
And this is, dare I quote it, free real estate for the Shock. They're able to force the Titans away just by sort of snarling in their general direction. But both teams have built up to quite a large bank of ultimates. Johnny, you better be careful, son. You're about to go down. He's forced to use the self-destruct prematurely to even get back into his mech. And there it is. The Graviton Surge is fired off by the San Francisco Shock. Was it a waste? We'll have to find out. They will push ahead. Twilight and Violet both used their Zenyatta ultimates, and both teams are kept healed. But Bumper is looking worse for wear right now. And the Shock know it. They try and push in, but no one comes at the King. He gets taken down, but it slows up the Shock a little bit. It allows Twilight to find Sinatra. Very important plays being removed from either side, but that's a pick and a half. Violet finding Twilight there. The Shock really needed that one, and now we're into the final moments here. Huxal up in that right-hand corner. Super trying to keep him out of position, and now it's time for the Titans. Can they stand and deliver, or will they be cut down? Bumper goes down without a word, without a whisper. It was just a whimper. Rascal caught inside a Graviton Surge when Moth gets the finish on Solminsu. Slime trying to stay here on the payload, but Huxal is pushed up into the statue. A fitting end for the Lucio, who often likes to try and get up high on those skates. And now Twilight is forced to use the Transcendence as well. He needs to keep his team in this game, but Super is bubbled up and ready to go. And he gets Bumper again and again and again. He finds his opposite number on the right heart. Twilight's Transcendence is over, and Solminsu is caught in a grab. An attempt at the Doomfist now from Huxal. He's known for that character, but this is not the time to use it. He goes down awfully fast, and Jano is desuited. The Shock finish Rialto, and they've begun to pave their way towards victory. Just a few steps left for them here, and that attack has set them up for it, Matt.
Shock finished the map with a minute to go. We'll be back with Vancouver's attack after this.
Vancouver Titans swaggered straight into the front door of the Overwatch League this year, and they backed it up, not losing a game throughout Stage 1, but now, in the final moments of this Stage 1 final, they are at the mercy of the San Francisco Shock's defense. The Shock finish the map, Matthew, and have a minute in their time bank. This is not overly common. It is rare for teams to finish Rialto, let alone with time to spare.
And on the defense here for the Shock, Super will be running Reinhardt instead of Winston. So you saw Bumper on the other side run the Winston, a little bit more mobility. Going to be opting for that straight Reinhardt composition.
Remember, the Titans, though, they are still in a great spot to take this all the way here. They've just started on the attack. If they get through these first couple of checkpoints relatively fast, it'll be the Shock who start sweating. Again, nothing crazy about the composition for the Titans. They haven't really switched up their characters. Bumper wants to push around the corner here. Normally teams try and bait this kind of aggression, but they just go straight for it. Eye on the prize for the Titans. And then they net themselves. Chokobin being desuited and taken down, plus Sinatra. Killing Isaiah right at the start of a round is huge.
And that's what the Titans did well in the first series between these two. They saw where Sinatra was. They beeline towards him. They were able to take him out. So when Sinatra plays that very aggressive play style, you're able to do that. This is going to be basically one more fight to decide point A.
Yeah, Shock already put in a compromising position early on this attack. Rascal. Just taking 5 there. You notice he was a little low on health. Had to back out. The Shock have to play together right now, but they're a little split. And the Titans look like they're trying to make the most of that. They get Chokobin once again. Violet's going to have to go for a Transcendence in just a moment. And here he comes, zooming straight on in with that extra healing. But during this, the Shock need to find kills on the Titans, and they've just not done that. Super, though, solid shatter. Still no kill as a result. The Vancouver Titans look indomitable right now. And the Shock look like they're playing with pool noodles.
Yes, the Shock put up really no defense there on point A. Vancouver just steamrolls through them. 4 minutes and 50 in the time bank to get from A to B. So this one looks like Vancouver, when they were the aggressive team, they look so strong. It's when Super and the San Francisco Shock, they get aggressive and push them back. That's when Vancouver starts to look beatable.
Definitely looks like Vancouver are fed up now with the fun and games. Bumper got knocked down to the low ground there. Perhaps that was intentional, but either way, there was no one from the Shock to be made susceptible to that Earth Shatter. Super's shield is low, though he needs to be careful. Bumper tries to go in for a charge, but Moth had perfect timing on that sound barrier. It may not be enough still to keep Super alive, though, and it isn't. Sinatra also gets caught out there. This is all going wrong for the Shock, Matt. Everything going in favor of the Titans now. And look at how they use this momentum. Sails full of wind and full steam ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the Shock don't put up a really good fight here. Potentially one more fight. They're actually going to give this up as Chokobin gets demacked.
I don't think I've seen...
Above 5 minutes.
Have you seen a Rialto so fast this stage?
No.
If I have, they've been rare. The Shock need to find that defense.
Just
4
any
minutes
stop.
behind.
Any stop in general.
But Matt, they've got hardly anything to work with in terms of those ultimates. The Titans just keep cascading from one ultimate to another. And Johnny finds two with a self-destruct. The Vancouver Titans are out of control. And the Shock, bewildered and stunned. The payload careening towards the end of the map, and the Vancouver Titans have all the time in the world. They can stop off for a cup of tea.
And the record on this map is to complete it with having 3 minutes and 33 seconds in the time bank.
So just when they needed it most, the Vancouver Titans now on a record trajectory to finish this map. The Shock have to find a stop, but it looks like it's not to be. Rascal is pinned at the start of this fight. Chokobin and Sinatra both knocked down. That's a perfect shatter from Bumper considering, but Super fires back. He keeps his team alive with a strong shatter of his own, but it may not be enough. Moth could be caught out here trying to stay alive, and he is. Oh my lord! I've never seen this map finish so fast. Just when it looks like the Shock have pushed the Titans all the way, they dig deeper and find something special that we've never seen before.
That was a haymaker of a round. So, the Shock, they're so excited to finish the map with a minute in the time bank. Vancouver's like, watch this. They finished the map with 4 minutes and 26 seconds. Almost a minute faster than the previous record.
They wonder why we're yelling, of course.
The Shock
only is this.
Lost right now.
I mean, again, you're young, you're momentum based. How much of a blow does your mentality take where you actually feel good about how fast you finish the map, and then the Titans turn up and make you look like fools?
You can take a look at this. Johnny's self-destruct launches it into the back.
And this is opportunistic, by the way. This is not.
Oh, the Hacksaw stun.
Yeah, it's not part of a combo necessarily, but Hacksaw identifies if I shield bash into Super right now and knock him down, we can actually get some value off of Janu's self-destruct there. So that was very much on the fly from the Titans. Wasn't heavily premeditated, but it works out. And now, the Shock, it's their time. It's their turn to find something truly special to mirror what we saw from the Titans. But they only have 1 minute. 1 minute on this map. The composition doesn't really elicit any feelings of excitement from me personally. It's about the same as what we've always seen from them.
And that push from Vancouver is just unreal. Back against the wall, undefeated stage on the line, championship moment, in a map that's very strong for the defenders.
They find another
They
level.
break a record by a minute.
It's astonishing. That is absolutely astonishing. 3 minutes and 33 seconds on this map. And look at them. They look so confident. Imperious almost. Janu does get DMAC'd as well. The Shock may have an opening here. At least it's going to be tough for the Titans to mitigate oncoming damage, but there's 20 seconds left. The Shock need to get as far as they can with this little amount of time. But so far, that payload is not moving. Bumper is keeping it contested by walking up and around the corner. And now it's time. The Titans look like they want to close the teeth and the trap on the Shock and finish this one here. 3 seconds remain, and Vancouver looks strong coming into this fight. This is where it begins. Both Violet and Twilight are going to have transcendences, but neither team really is, I guess, incentivized to go too aggressive here. But eventually the fight will begin. And Bumper, if anyone else, will try to start it off there. Super just ate a fire strike that went through his shield. He needs to be careful. Graviton Surge now gets aimed at the San Francisco Shock, and they go for a desperate transcendence. Violet trying to keep his team alive. And the sound barrier as well. Everything from the Shock just to stay in this one. Twilight goes down. Super charges him up against the wall. That's what the Shock are looking for here. With Janu's mech getting taken down by the self-destruct. The Shock may have found their opening. Rascal is down, but the Shock is still fighting. And Janu's removed. Bumper's down. The Shock get over the first hurdle map, but it's not over yet.
And because we're in overtime of the entire map, they won't get more time when they take checkpoint A. They're going to remain in overtime for the rest of this push. So they need to keep at least one player on the cart to keep overtime triggered. They do not even have point A back. You have to have Moth go back to the spawn to escort Rascal back. The Titan's going to get another fight.
And if they leave the payload, that bar will quickly dwindle down. The longer they've been on in overtime, the quicker the bar dwindles. Basically, the Shock cannot leave the payload for any reason right now. They're forced to fight here. Super pushing ahead. Shatter comes in, doesn't find anyone, nor does the self-destruct, though. Coming in for the Titans at least. But Violet goes down early. Sinatra's next. Is this the final stand from the Shock? They get ground down. Super's missing. The Shock are down to just 3 players. Rascal now missing. And Moth has to keep things going, but he can't. It's just too much for him. And that is where the San Francisco Shock's attack journey ends. Now we know what the Titans need to do. It's simple. Just get further than the Shock did there, and they have all the time to do it. We may be looking at our stage champion crown in just a second. Don't go anywhere.
start is not a trait that either of these two teams displayed at all.
Through stage one. But you can't argue with the facts. The Vancouver Titans have 4 minutes and 26 seconds, a heck of a lot of time to get just only a portion of the way through the map, Matt. It is close, that checkpoint.
They basically just have to make it to checkpoint A. We do see teams get held here on Rialto, though, before this checkpoint. The Shock pretty much have 2 fights to do it. If they lose the first fight, they kind of have a fight underneath the tunnel by the choke. It'll be late, though.
The Shock don't want to take an early fight here. They want to make their last stand by the statue. And the Vancouver Titans, they have the leisure, the luxury of taking it slow.
And let's see how they decide to play this. Soman Su now up on the high ground. We do see teams try and get the Zarya up on the high ground, get them charged, just put some pressure down. Interesting for the Shock. They have to rotate around
This could be
underneath.
dangerous.
They didn't expect this, though.
Papa wants to fight. He likes fighting at close quarters, but Super's able to repel him. The Shock have a player advantage here, and they're not getting ahead of themselves, but they need to get to the payload. That one's still moving right now. The Shock have to round back. Unfortunately for them, they do. Bumper will rejoin the Titans very quickly, and then it will be another 6v6. The Shock cannot afford to lose.
And I wonder if the Shock have an idea that Bumper has to shatter.
Oh, maybe not. Bumper goes for the shatter. Rascal was knocked down, but a quick sound barrier is going to keep everyone on the Shock pretty much immune from dying for that period of time. They need to continue this fight, though, and Violent has a Transcendence that he's safe for just this moment. Sinatra also has a Graviton Surge.
And where the payload is, you're not going to get this second fight I was talking about. This is going to be a one-fight territory. You can see Soman Su's screen.
No margin
The
of
box
error.
of victory right there.
The San Francisco Shock have to go now. Super sees the payload. This is the checkpoint right here. That box. No! Moth is down! The Shock were trying to hang on, but the Titans look too good right now. Super takes down Slime. Both Lucios are missing, and Simon to also removed by Trichoven. Self-destruct thrown in, and look at that shatter from Bumper. It's huge. He tries to go for the finish, and he gets Sinatra. Vita responds back on towards Haxal, and Twilight is trying to keep it alive on the payload. No!
They're gonna hold
He
it.
comes back. He redeems himself by booping Bumper off into the river, and there's no gondola big enough to fit that man in it. And somehow the Shock stay in the fight.
And this gets dangerous, though, for Vancouver, because you use a lot of ultimates in that fight. You'll come back, you'll have Sound Barrier and Transcendence. If you use both of them and lose the fight, you're in a lot of trouble. That 4 minutes goes down pretty quick.
It looked like it was over after they lost Moth, but the Shock are too gritty for that. But Super, he has to be careful. He's caught out of position. He's down. That's the first pick, and now the rest would follow. Bumper hits a huge ass shatter, and the Vancouver Titans stand on the precipice. They say the North never forgets, but now the North will never be forgotten.
And the Vancouver Titans take what was promised to them, but they knew that was theirs alone. They will be the Vancouver Titans, your Stage 1 champions. No stranger to victory and championships for this team, but this match, this is just something special, something a little different.
It's an epic match. I mean, the Shock played Vancouver better than anyone we've seen all stage. It was a huge statement win for the Titans. They come in to the Overwatch League confident, champions back in Korea. They come in as an expansion team, newcomers to the Overwatch League, and take our stage 1.
And you have to say, the Vancouver Titans, they got what they came for. And they'll be very pleased about that one. It has been an incredible match between these two rosters. Bumper, he showed us his fallibility towards the end of this series. The risky play the Titans go for, but they stuck to their guns. It worked out for them, and we couldn't be happier. It's been an incredible stage thus far, but there's more to come. Our fans over on Twitch will be able to join us for the post-show, twitch.tv/Overwatch League. It's been a pleasure to have you all with us. For myself, Mitch Leslie, Matt Morello, we'll see you in the post-show.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Watch Point Post Show live from the Blizz Arena in Los Angeles, California. You can find us here after every match day. I'm your host, Chris Puckett. I got the whole crew with me as always. We've got Zoe, Bren, and Sideshow. So much to talk about. We're going to get into all of the games, all the best moments of the day. But first, we got to celebrate. It's the Vancouver Titans, your Stage 1 title champions. And right now, we got Bumper the main tank on the floor with our insider, Danny Lim.
Blizz Arena one more time. Give it up for your Vancouver Titans Stage 1 final champions! Yeah! You guys have done it. Congratulations. And you guys are finishing off the stage undefeated. Bumper, how do you feel? 자, 우승 너무나 축하드립니다. 거기다가 또 한 번도 전승 무패로 끝나게 됐는데요. 버퍼 선수, 지금 소감 말씀 부탁드릴게요.
저희가 컨텐더스에서부터 시작해서 우승을 하고 리그에 와서도 우승해서 지금 세상에 있는 그 무엇보다도 가장 행복한 것 같아요.
Starting off with the contenders, we finished it off. We won contenders. Now we're in Overwatch League. We won Overwatch League Stage 1. I am the happiest man alive. How about you guys? Everyone happy? 다들 기쁘시죠? Yeah. Thank you. And also, Stage 2 of Overwatch League will be happening on April 4th. Everybody mark your calendars. Bumper, do you feel like Vancouver Titans could be the champions one more time for Stage 2? Stage 2, 우승 가능하십니까?
이번에 리그 시즌 2잖아요. 저희가 짝수 추진에 강한 만큼 무슨 메타가 오든 어떤 스테이지가 오든 다 우승하겠습니다.
Give me 1 second.
짝수 스테이지요? 네, 짝수 시즌.
Because this is the second season of Overwatch, and we're really good on even numbers. I'm sure whichever stage, whichever map it is, we're going to definitely take the win. All right, thank you guys. Everybody, give it up for Vancouver Titans one more time. Puckett, back to you at the desk.
Thanks a bunch, Danny, and big congratulations to Bumper. I'm sure you guys all have a lot to say about what we just witnessed, so let's break it down from the very beginning here. Map 1 set the tone for this back and forth battle. It all started off on Nepal. Zoe, Brent, Josh, let's take a look at some of the best moments as we jump into the very start of this epic 7-game series.
It feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it, that this series began, and it was absolutely crazy. But honestly, if Nepal had gone another way, it could have been a totally different series as well. Every single map was so close between these two teams, and we knew as soon as we started out and Shock managed to edge this one away, coming from that 1-round deficit, that we were in for one hell of a game.
Yeah, this was just incredible play by San Francisco Shock. Their individual performances were absolutely standing out. Moth didn't even die anymore up until like the very end of this bout on Nepal. And on the other side, Sinatra had a stand-up performance on this map specifically. He only died 3 times in the first round, and then afterwards it was just all on him. Super great shatters throughout the beginning of this match. It was insane.
Do you know what? I think they just basically downloaded Bumper's weird Earth Shatter style, and Super's been able to work around that so well. Bumper didn't look like the insane star talent that he has done all season. He did look great, don't get me wrong, but Super, I think, got the better end of him across the majority of this series. But Vancouver here came back out and just demolished them on Numbani.
The clear moments for me where Vancouver was turning this around was the moments where it's where these years of synergy have been built up, where you can tell it's just dividend, because they just re-engage in a lot of these fights. They come in so quick with the reaction times, a lot of time with a lot of their engagements, using self-destructs in weird ways, defensively, aggressively, to initiate a lot of the fights, and that's where they got a lot of the edges in these team fights, even when they were down in ultimates, down in even numbers as well. This is the one thing that Vancouver Titans excel at, and they did so to clutch in certain maps.
Now watching this on the attack, Violet had some fat fingers, guys. Some big transcendence when they didn't need it, and those seem to be wasted. It was looking dire here for San Francisco Shock in their own map pick of Anubis, but Choi Hoven clutched up here and kept his team in the game.
He did, but you know, honestly, I do think I want to credit this to Violet. We did criticize his earlier trances, but then at the very end, they clutched it because his trans saved Moth, And Moth, in turn, they managed to boop the right people.
Oh, it's coming right here.
Yeah, right there it is.
There
So
it is.
it was like a really great team play there. And then Sinatra landed a grab right after that. And it just kind of all...
This is the
went
one.
there.
Yeah, Violet clutching at the end of this. Manages to pick off 2 players. Then the trance comes out and heals
There
up
we go.
Sinatra, like you're saying. This fight was nuts. But it can show you how much this series could have turned on a dime.
Yes,
Because if
absolutely.
Choyobin had not clutched on point A, they would not have even been able to win this map whatsoever. And then if Violet hadn't clutched towards the end, again, the Vancouver Titans probably would have taken that. So the entirety of this series could have been so different if these tiny little minor details had changed. And I think that just shows you we witnessed an amazing match that could really have gone either way. But credit to both of these teams for playing such sublime Overwatch.
And I think the one takeaway, if you're watching the early half of this match, was that it seemed Vancouver simply could not defend Super Shatters. Let's take a look at some of these big ones, Josh.
Oh, they were unbelievably good. I mean, the way that he was playing around it as well, Bumpers are he's a very hard Reinhardt to read. But when you take a look at the statistics here, Earthshatter stuns in the first 3 maps went massively in favor of Super. But the actual kills that they were getting off of it, not that
Pretty
many.
close.
Right, and so there's a couple of ways of interpreting this. First of all, Bumper was landing a couple of key shatters, and they were having good efficiency translating them. And some of the shatters that Super was hitting, the peel was just too good from the Vancouver Titans.
Yes, yeah.
They were able to keep everybody alive. But I want to throw another interpretation of this in here.
Okay.
Because Super had some great defensive Earth Shatters as well.
Yes.
And so he was throwing out those Earth Shatters not designed to get kills, but to stop his own team from getting killed. So the stun itself was the value there.
And we saw that on Nepal to clutch up
Yeah.
on the final point. You saw it in map 3 as well on Anubis. But let's keep this show moving as we have to talk about the second half. With the shock up 2-1, it was all Vancouver getting to choose which map we were going to. And the Titans didn't seem to be phased at all when we headed to Dorado.
So this is
Dorado, a
where we
very
need
good
to
pick.
start talking about Vancouver Titans as a team, the history of this team as well. Yes, they're Korean contenders champions going in past the year, but this team was also notorious for mentally choking in the finals.
They've made 4 finals, only won 1 of them. So that tells you what you need.
And usually it's the turning point around the middle of the game. They just lost the map on Anubis. They come into this. This is normally where you start to see teams really falling to pieces. But you need to credit Vancouver Titans. They have such good mental strength to be able to power through this and be able to battle back after a loss on Anubis like this. Not a lot of teams in the league are capable of that.
So when you were watching Dorado, what were you keeping eyes on?
I was actually keeping an eye on the supports here, mainly Moth and his counterpart Slime. They had a little bit of a dual situation going on there in more than one situations, which I think is again a great example of Vancouver Titans really trying to adapt. They did see how much Moth actually got to set up with them, so they had Slime kind of onto Moth's heels, who kind of just followed him around and made sure that he's not setting up those big boops, which bumped Bumper into the Shock's line.
And you can see it continuing on to Ilios. These healers, we always talk about the tanks, but the healers doing so much work today. Ilios, of course, was the tie-breaking map 5 in our series. What were the biggest plays that you guys saw on this map in particular?
It all came down to this round, really, didn't it, Puck?
Oh, yeah.
It came down to and we had a weird situation where Vancouver continued to run this bunker composition, or the double stun comp, where you have the McCree and you have the Brigitte. Normally, it's not so good to run this against the Winston triple tank, triple support, but Vancouver made it work, got up to 97%, and San Francisco Shock just came all the way back.
And that's where we need to talk about as well the mental fortitude of San Francisco Shock on the other side. This is a team that hasn't been in playoffs, right? This is a team that are not used to this kind of high pressure stake environment on the stage, yet they still managed to battle back in that round. And now they're 1 map up here on King's Row. Just absolutely absurd.
This was match point, King's Row for all of the marbles, and things were looking really good for Shock early on. They get an early point A, but when it came to this final point, Vancouver Titans dug their heels in.
Yeah, I think Zoe mentioned that she wasn't sure whether it was the right pick for the Vancouver Titans to go here because it is an incredibly good map for the Shock. And I totally agreed. I thought it was a bit of a scary prospect for the Titans. But on their offense, they showed why they're such a great triple tank, triple support team. They just rolled it through, honestly.
It comes down to minor differences as well. A reoccurring point that we're going to be touching on for the Vancouver Titans is this fact that they've got this chemistry built up over so many years that